Hello again, everybody. Natalie here from the Outdoor Center, here to talk to you this time about paragliding. So what is paragliding? First, I'd like to clear up one major point of confusion, which is paragliding versus parasailing. Paragliding is a sport that requires a highly skilled pilot. The pilot runs off the side of a mountain against the wind and takes flight. The pilot must actively fly the glider for the duration of the flight. Parasailing, on the other hand, is a common tourist activity in which 1 to 2 people are attached to a parachute which is linked to a boat by a long rope. When the boat speeds up, the people are lifted up into the air. The flight lasts until the boat slows down and the parachute slowly falls to the water where it lands. No skill or action is required by the passengers of this flight. I started flying sophomore year of college when I went to an intensive paragliding school in Southern California over spring break. I spent a little over a week camped out at the base of the mountain, learning different aspects of flying from sun up to sundown. I now have over 100 flights in 4 different countries, but with that being said, I still consider myself very much a beginner. In fact, there's so much to learn in the world of air sports that I think I will always consider myself a student of the sky, even 20 years from now. This attitude is important to have as a pilot because the moment you start to fly like you know it all, that's when you're going to make a mistake. Here, I just wanted to show you the packability of a paraglider. Here in this backpack, I have everything that I need to be able to hike up a mountain and go fly off it. Pretty small. The harness that I have here is meant for hiking and flying, as opposed for driving up to a launch and flying off. What this means is that it's reversible. So I packed everything up in here, but also as soon as I open up the bag that I packed everything in, it's also a harness. Not only is this harness reversible, but it also has a very nice airbag protection system, as you can see here. Basically, this provides a little bit of extra cushion if you have a hard landing. Furthermore, it's equipped with an under-seat reserve mount, which is this. My reserve parachute is something that I would use if my glider happened to collapse and I was unable to recover it. I'd pull this handle and a reserve would come out, which I would toss and glide safely to the ground with. As far as helmets go, I definitely recommend getting a full face. It's always better to have more protection for your head. Alright, so here's my glider. It's a Little Cloud GT2 Lite, 18 meters long. It comes from France, and it was built specifically for hiking and flying. As for the main parts of the glider, this part up here at the very top is called the nose or leading edge. This is where the air enters and is able to inflate the glider. The part of the glider closest to me is called the trailing edge. The lines attached to the trailing edge eventually lead to 2 brake toggles. These are your controls. The lines of a paraglider may seem intimidating because there's just so many of them, but they're really not that bad. You have your A's, your B's, your C's, and your brake line. Your A's, as you can see, are attached to the leading edge of your glider, your B's and C's towards the middle, and of course your brake line is at the trailing edge of your glider. Apart from the weight shift that you can do in your harness, essentially all of your control for the glider remains in these 2 handles. For example, if you feel like your glider is about to do a frontal collapse, then you'll add more brake pressure in order to prevent the front edge of the glider from crumbling over. Or, if you feel as though your glider is too far behind you and that it may stall, you'll release a little of the pressure that you're holding in your brakes. For this reason, it's always important to fly with a little bit of brakes so that you can either release or add tension to them depending on the scenario. In paragliding, there are 2 types of launching techniques. In a reverse launch, as shown here, the pilot inflates the glider by pulling on the A lines while facing it, then quickly turns around to run and become airborne. In a forward launch, the pilot is facing away from the glider and inflates the wing by lifting slightly on the A lines while running down the hill. This technique is used to launch when there is little to no wind because by running with the glider, you're able to generate enough airflow to inflate the sails in order to fly. There are 2 main types of lift that paragliders typically use, ridge lift and thermals. Ridge lift happens when air hits the side of a mountain and in turn is forced upwards. When a paraglider flies in this air, they rise with the air and can often float for long periods of time if the wind remains constant. Thermals are pockets of rising air that occur when the sun heats up the ground. There's often turbulence when entering and leaving a thermal, and occasionally it can be severe. Thermals are what are used by cross-country pilots to cover vast distances of land without any sort of motor. So, after watching this video, if you're interested in learning how to fly, I wanted to leave you with my top 3 suggestions for beginning this process. First, find a good instructor. Doing so is perhaps one of the most important parts of your flying career. This person is going to teach you the base skills that you will need to keep yourself safe for as long as you fly. Don't just choose the instructor with the best price, and be open to the possibility of needing to leave your home city or even state to find the instructor that would be best for you. I would not recommend booking with an instructor until you have talked with multiple past students. Second, don't go to a big school. One-on-one instruction is the safest and most efficient way to getting your license. Finally, don't buy your own gear until after you've completed your training and earned your license. First, there's a chance that during your training you'll discover that paragliding just isn't your sport. And second, by the time you finish your training, you will likely be ready for a more advanced wing than the one you initially learned on. Well, I think that's it. Thanks everybody for watching my video, and I hope to see y'all in the sky.